Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. He is back. That's right. You know him as episode 110. Maybe you know him as episode 319. I know him as my friend of 20 plus years, Stephen Shapiro, Hall of Fame speaker, best-selling author, and the man in purple. Welcome back to the show, Steve.
Always fun to hang out with you and have a little sip of something, some beverage, and have a good conversation.
So, for the people that don't know, or the poor saps that maybe didn't listen to episode 110 of this esteemed program, or episode 319, which is your two previous episodes, give us just a little quick sketch of your professional journey that brought you to the work that you're doing today, maybe starting when you were working for the man, and what were some interesting pit stops along the way?
Yeah, so I'll actually go even a little bit before I started working for the man. Back in college, I was an industrial engineer, but I wasn't the best engineer in the world. In fact, the only A I got in college was public speaking. So that was like a little bit of a foreshadowing of where I would end up. But I was an engineer, left university, went to Accenture. Back then it was Arthur Andersen and then Andersen Consulting, and Accenture was with them for 15 years. And early in my career, I worked a lot in what was called business re-engineering. Basically, it was optimizing companies' processes. And one of the things that I realized after a period of time is that when we optimized a company's processes, they would downsize the workforce, people would lose their jobs. I had an existential meltdown. Short version of the story is I decided I would never want to be responsible for one lost job, so I decided to create something around growth. And 30 years ago, innovation wasn't a hot topic, but I decided that we were going to create an innovation practice. I got a lot of support. We grew it to 20,000 people, and basically, since then, for the past 30 years, been focused on innovation. Left Accenture in 2001 when I published my first book. And since then, I've had 7 books in total and enjoy the life that I have, traveling the world, helping out my clients.
So we are going to circle back to this concept, but in the spirit of foreshadowing, it's always fascinating to me, people in our business, right? The speaking, expertise-based consulting type of business. The common wisdom is you got to write a book every two or 3 years just to stay current, to have something new to put in front of your clients, to have something new to put in front of speaker bureaus. And there's this, always this novelty that you write a book, you ride that puppy for 2 or 3 years, then it's time for the next book. And early on, I guess you drank some of that Kool-Aid. Walk us through, I'm always curious, the progression and the evolution of your thought leadership platform from book number 1, which was fantastic and did really, really well, 24/7 innovation. That was book number 1. And then how did you take us on that kind of wild ride of the books that followed it? And what was the business thinking behind them?
Yeah, so I did buy into the Kool-Aid. In fact, being an innovation person, I really, I bought into the high test version of the Kool-Aid. We got to be changing all the time. So first book was 2001. Second book was 2005 called Goal Free Living. It was on how to live a life without goals. Loved that book, but a lot of people struggled with it. And the business world was like, no goals. What the heck is going on? Now, I sort of feel vindicated because in 2009, Harvard Business Review published an article called Goals Gone Wild, which was on the downside of goals. And so I feel as though there's a lot of merit there. And it's probably one of my favorite books. So that was 2006. 2007 came out with the little book of big innovation ideas. This was a book which I only sold, didn't sell it through Amazon. Actually, I don't even know if Amazon was around back then for books, but I only sold it in bulk to clients who would hire me to do speeches and other work. Then 2010, Penguin bought the rights to my personality poker decks and the book, and so we published that 2011. 1 year later, Best Practices Are Stupid. And then 2020 did Invisible Solutions. 2023 re-released Best Practices Are Stupid. 2024 released Pivotal. So it was just like non-stop releasing new books. And at some point I realized I was never leveraging any of them because I was always focused on what's next rather than focusing on what's now.
Now, you and I have had many, many conversations over the years about business, evolution, kibitzing each other, just kind of, coaching each other, encouraging each other in our various endeavors. I will say, just so people don't have this idea that you're some crazy all over the map Mr. Spaghetti, everything did tie back into innovation. It was just different flavors and aspects and angles of innovation, leading innovation, innovative culture, innovative collaboration, how to build the conditions where innovation could flourish, correct?
Absolutely. So like personality pokers on how do you create high-performing innovation teams. Best Practices Are Stupid was how do we create a culture of innovation where we can outpace the competition. Invisible Solutions was how do we solve problems by not focusing on solutions, but rather by reframing the questions to find better problems, more important problems. Pivotal was around how do we figure out what to invest in when it comes to innovation. Even Goal-Free Living, which was more about how to live a life, it was actually a book on personal creativity. How do you apply the principles of creativity to your personal life? And not having goals was actually one of the things I found after talking with 150 creative people. That's actually when I met you, 2003, during my Creative America tour, where I was interviewing creative people.
That's right. That's right. So funny. That was back in the Fast Company days when they had those local meetups called Company of Friends. And you came in and we realized that we had a couple of speaking buddies in common and we struck up a friendship. And then here we are 22 years later and you still can't get rid of me. You still can't get rid of me. Sorry,
Don't
buddy.
want to.
So this brings us to the fascinating story around Pivotal, because you wrote this book and in the process of writing and probably launching and speaking on these ideas, you were thunderstruck by one of your own ideas that took your business in a completely, I don't want to say new, but in a completely deep trajectory. Talk about what Pivotal, what's the message of Pivotal, and then what was the thundering clap of the innovative obvious that you applied to your own self?
Yeah, it's like you're supposed to take your own medicine. Well, I certainly wasn't doing that. So I wrote Pivotal, and it was based on 25 years of research I've done around a couple of different frameworks and the impact it's had on organizations. And the general premise is that we need to stop focusing on the next thing, the next bright, shiny object, but rather what we need to do is look at what we do better than anyone else that creates the greatest impact and that will stand the test of time. And so I won't get into the details of the frameworks, but I realized I've been guilty of chasing the next book, the next speech, the next topic, the next product, the next offering. And I never really stepped back and said, what do I do better than anyone else that stands the test of time, that no one else does, and that I actually love doing? And what I realized is 20 years ago, I created this card game called Personality Poker. But because I was so focused on the next thing, I never really leveraged it. So it was basically a deck of cards that I give a speech, but I got onto the next book and I would give speeches on that. And when I started to reflect, I realized my speeches aren't my differentiator. There are, as you know, thousands of fantastic speakers out there, really great speakers. And there are millions of great books. So my books weren't my differentiator. My content, I think, is incredibly powerful, but I would argue that's not even a differentiator because there's so much great content out there. What is my differentiator is a full body experience that I can create with an audience of any size, that within 45 to 60 minutes, every person has this physical experience. They're actually touching physical cards. They're trading cards. They're listening to music. They're on their hands and knees. They're gifting cards to other people. And in 45 minutes, people will have epiphanies like they've never had. 100% of my clients go absolutely gaga for it. I love it because I always wanted to be a game show host. No one else can do what I do because nobody else has anything that can go at this scale. And even if somebody created a deck of cards that could do what mine does, they could never deliver it the way I deliver it because I've been doing it for 20 years and I've mastered the process in a way that's unlike anything else. So I've decided that instead of focusing on the next book, the next topic, I'm going deep into personality poker. So I've created new offerings around personality poker, a certification program, which I never had, even though people wanted it. I never created tools to support personality poker. I never looked at how do we leverage it to change cultures on a long-term basis. And once I started to focus on it and put all of my marketing energy, my sales energy, my mental energy, my creative energy into personality poker, some amazing things have been popping up, whether it's clients coming out of the woodwork wanting to play personality poker that wouldn't have before, or having clients tell me, there's a CEO I did an event for 12 years ago. We played personality poker 12 years ago, and then I just did another event for his organization, and he told me that personality poker was the single most important tool he's brought to his organization in 12 years, and he uses it almost every single day in his organization. And I had no clue because I wasn't focused on it. So now that I'm focused on it, these amazing things are happening.
Hey, super quick station break question. Have you seen our free executive briefing on elevating your CEO brand? Check it out right now at doitmarketing.com/webinar. And now back to the show. I prepared a little fun demo for the people that are listening. Pop over to this episode on YouTube and you can follow along with the video. And then I want to get into a little bit more about the methodology and the licensing and the certification and all that brilliance. But I want people to have a visceral experience of what Steve just explained in the last 3 or 4 minutes. It's not about, I'm a great innovation speaker. There's a ton of innovation speakers, right? I have this great, fantastic book. Steve says there's a lot of great, fantastic books. So let me show you my little experiment that I did here. And I just typed in, and this will depress anyone. You put in, you go to Google, you go to ChatGPT, you go wherever you want to go. I went to Google and I typed in innovation keynote speaker. And of course, there's a lot of results, but if you really want to get depressed, I'll show you how many results. 13,400,000 results as of this recording for innovation keynote speaker. And unfortunately, because people pay to play, they rig the SEO. Let's see who's on this page. By the way, Steve totally needs and deserves to be on this page. Sadly, he is not. So we have some guy named Chris. We've got our buddy Josh Linkner. We have all kinds of other people. We have speaker bureaus buying up keywords, innovation and creativity. Our buddy James Taylor, this person named Chris Heemskirk. He's going to sue me, but he's not that great of a speaker because I saw the video. This dude named Duncan, Carla Johnson, you get the idea. So we're not going to win that game. We're not going to win that game no matter how much money, no matter how much Google juice we try and throw at it. Different tab, I threw in personality poker speaker. Personality poker speaker. Now, interestingly, let's look at the results here. This is only 2 million results compared to whatever we had prior. But Steve is all over this. Not only the first page, but the second page, and videos and links and interviews and podcasts and LinkedIn posts and all kinds of things. Your interview with our buddy John Janch is on here. The book is on here. Multiple speaker bureau, all kinds of images. Now, I want to simulate asking AI, right? So let's say I forgot Steve's name. I'm going to say, who is that personality poker speaker? And notice it's going to generate an AI overview from Gemini, and it says, the personality poker speaker is Steven Shapiro. He's an innovation expert, keynote speaker, and author known for his work on innovation and teamwork using the personality poker framework. He developed a personality poker card game and podcast to help individuals and teams understand their personalities and how they contribute to innovation. Here's a little bit more about Steven Shapiro. And then we just go, so you can see that Steve is playing the game that he owns. Steve is playing the game where he says, okay, I'm not going to play in this big giant pool that is so noisy and so crazy. I'm going to set up a little subset that I'm going to totally own. And this is called category design, by the way, and really designing the race or the game that only you can win. And it is so smart. And you and I talked about this earlier, that of course, if clients want something else, great. But you want to put personality poker at the front gates of the amusement park. And that's where you want to stake your fame and reputation and credibility. And that's maybe the first thing that you want people to find. They call you, maybe some other program or some other theme is relevant, but personality poker is now the center of the universe. I'm going to pause there. Did I get some of that right? Or feel free to comment or add to that.
I think you got all of it right. It was fascinating because I didn't know you were going to do this. And what's interesting is if you go back 10, 12 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, if you typed in innovation, not just innovation, keynote speaker, innovation, I'd be on the first page. So I was highly ranked. But then, time goes by and innovation became a hotter topic.
Yeah.
And people who used to sell toasters are now innovation speakers, and people who are marketing experts are now innovation speakers. And so everybody just threw the word innovation into their speeches, and it became crowded. The other interesting thing is innovation as a topic has actually diminished over time. So if you look at requests for innovation speakers, it used to be the number one or number two topic year after year after year for a number of years, and then it started to die down. And now you don't really see it much in the top 5 or 10. And I think it's just because the world has changed. I think we've become numb to the word innovation. Yeah. If I ask 100 people to define innovation, I'll get 120 different answers, 120 different definitions. So I think we've become numb to it. We've become numb to the failure rate of innovation. And also, unfortunately, people seem to think innovation is someone's job. It's the person wearing long white robes, sitting on high mountains, handing down the solutions to the rest of the organization. And what I wanted to do with personality poker was to democratize innovation, to recognize we are all innovative. We all contribute to innovation in different ways. And we just need to understand, what is our strong suit? What's our superpower? How do we contribute specifically to, and if you don't like the word innovation, call it problem solving. Yeah. It is basically the same thing. If we can identify a big opportunity or a big problem, and we can find ways to tap into that, that's innovation. Yeah. So it's never an idea without the problem. It is always the marriage of the problem and the idea. And we've needed to couple them together. So personality poker is actually the process. Each suit in the deck of cards links to a step of the innovation process. And then for each suit, I have an entire body of work behind it. So each suit links to one of my other books or some other body of work that I have. So it all cascades down very nicely.
Let's talk about, speaking of democratizing, not only are you doubling down on this, but there is a certification and licensing program for corporate clients who see this, experience it. Maybe they even play a game of personality poker that you've done, I think, with thousands of people in a conference room, right? Many thousands of people. They're blown away because it is a full body experience. It is, fully interactive, fully engaging, highly memorable, highly referable. And now people are like, oh my God, can we do that again? That was great. Can we do that with the engineering group? Can we do that with, the Western division? Can we bring that to the Eastern division? And as much as you love being on planes and helping people from big stages, you cannot be everywhere all the time. So, talk to us about the corporate licensing and how that works and how you're propagating that out inside of companies.
Yeah, so the certification typically takes place after I've done a speech for an organization that says, we love this, we want more of it. Now, the important thing is it's not a train the trainer. So that there's a component of that, but it's not like I take 10 people inside the company and say, here's some special sauce. You are now certified, go deliver personality poker sessions. Then you get a bunch of transactional poker games. The whole point of the game is actually to start a cultural revolution, to be able to institutionalize the concepts of collaboration and innovation. And so the point of the corporate certification program is after we play the game with 100, 500, 1,000 people inside the company, how do we then keep the momentum going, not by playing more games, but also creating organizational structures, creating mechanisms to reinforce it, and really help keep it alive and drive results, not transactions, but actually long-term impact.
Holy smokes, so much value in this episode. Listen, if you are loving what you're hearing, feel free to download, subscribe, tell a friend, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to The Selling Show. Now, back to the interview. This was a result of you realizing I need to go deep, I need to double down, pun intended. I need to double down on this, amplify it, magnify it, democratize it, popularize it. When you talk to people about bringing this in-house, how do you balance this so that it serves them, but it doesn't cannibalize your business?
A company typically is only going to bring me in so many times to deliver speeches. There's a point where, from a financial perspective, it doesn't make sense, but also from my perspective, it doesn't make sense. I'm not there to, take somebody's money by doing a speech. I'm trying to get impact. I'm in the impact business. And if I'm in the impact business, the best way to get impact is to have enough people who really have mastered the process, understand how to implement it, and then cascade it down inside the organization. So I don't really think about it as cannibalizing. I think about it as magnifying. If I can take what I did in a speech and then I can have the organization magnify it in a way that I could never do because I'm one person, but if we can get a cadre of 10, 20, 30 people who become masterful in this, and then they get other people down. So we have an entire process for cascading this into organizations. I just think that that's really, to me, the whole point of this is to really make an impact. And so I never really think about it from a cannibalization perspective. I think about it as an impact thing.
I know that we were talking just very briefly. Do you want to show a couple of quick slides to kind of give people a visual flavor of how awesome this is?
Sure. Well, first, let me talk a little bit about the game because people don't even know what it is so far.
Sure.
So if you're in a car listening to this on audio, I'll try to explain what I'm about to show. But let's just dig a little bit into what this is like. So basically there are 52 cards. It looks like a normal deck of cards. You got suits, colors, and numbers on them, like any regular deck of cards. But each of the cards also have words. And these describe particular behavioral attributes, like that's the considerate card. This is the philosophical card. We have the open-minded card. We have the organized cards. 52 cards, 52 words. So when we play it with clients, there's a few different ways, but let's just talk about the way we do it with big audiences. Let's say it's 100, 200, 500,000 people.
Yeah.
Shuffle the decks. Deal out 5 random cards to every person in the room. And the purpose of the game is to get 5 cards where the words best describe how you see yourself. And during the trading process, you also get to gift cards to other people. So when you're done, you have 5 cards where the words hopefully best describe how you see yourself. And then you receive gift cards from others that help you understand how the world perceives you. And they're not always the same. And that's always quite fascinating. Yeah. And then we go through the process of interpreting the suits, the colors, and the numbers. And I'll just pull up a quick slide here for those who want to take a look at it. This is the framework. But here's what I will say before I get into the details of this is that many personality tests are focused on who you are. And yes, this has that element too, but the most important part of personality poker is who you are not. When you have 5 cards in your hand, there's a 95% chance that you'll be missing one of the suits from your hand. That tells you that's the person you need. I always say the person you like the least is the person you need the most. The person who's not in your hand is the person you need to collaborate with.
Yeah.
So I'll just pull this up just real quickly. The spades are the people who are really into the facts, the data, the numbers, very analytical. And in the innovation process, these are the ones who are going to help us define the problem, understand what we should be focused on, what matters most. Next, we want the diamonds, the multifaceted diamonds who are able to connect the dots across different ideas and different experiences and come up with very cool, creative solutions that we might not otherwise come up with. From there, we need the clubs. These are the ones who plan the work and work the plan. These are the ones who are going to get things implemented. And then finally, the hearts are the ones who engage the hearts and minds of people. So when you look at this, what ends up happening is, so for example, my hand, I have maybe a spade sometimes, mainly diamonds, maybe a heart. So I've got these 3, but in my hand, I never, ever have a club. I am disorganized. I am messy. I am scattered. And what I always say is if a person has even 1 club in their hand, I'm probably not going to like them. And then I sort of make the important point, which is, but you are the person I need, because the person you like the least is the person you need the most. The person who annoys you the most is probably the person who is least like you, and that's the person you need.
Yeah.
And so when we do this, we're able to create high-performing teams by not just having each person play to their strong suit, but also by making sure that we have teams and organizations that are playing with a full deck. Yeah. And that means that we have each of the different suits in the right role, dealing out the work to make sure each person is doing what they do best. And then we do shuffle the deck to create creative tension. So this is a very short explanation, but that's pretty much what personality poker is all about.
Now, I'm guessing that people go through this experience and CEO comes up to you after the event and says, Steve, this is so incredible. This is so insightful. Man, I now know how to work with my CFO and my CTO and my CIO, but you know what? I now know how to relate to one of my kids. I now know why my brother-in-law drives me crazy. I now know why my mom has this habit that absolutely makes me nuts. And I can now build a bridge, and I can now have more empathy and more relationship with these people who are unlike me.
100%. It's great for families. One of my favorite ways to play this is if you have someone in your life, maybe you don't get along with them all the time. Could be a friend, could be a spouse, could be someone else. There's the solitaire version of the game. And you go through the cards one at a time and you'd say, okay, systematic. And then I would decide, am I absolutely systematic? Am I not systematic? Or am I sometimes not? I have 3 piles. And as I go to put them on the pile, I look at the other person. And if they give me a thumbs up or if they nod their head, I'm like, good, keep on going. And then I get to maybe a word like, I don't know, decisive. And I think, I'm absolutely decisive. And they're like, no, you can't make up your mind. You suffer from decidophobia, which is a fear of making decisions. And so, anyway, it's so great. And my favorite way, though, to play personality poker, I just want to talk about this for a second, because this is something which is, it's so powerful. And when I do it with my clients, there's always tears. It's always very emotional. So what we do is, yes, you choose some cards for yourself. That's fine. But you identify somebody in the room that you know really well, and you choose a card for them. You don't give it to them, though. And then we go around the room. So imagine you have 10 leaders who work together on a regular basis. The first person would stand up and they would say, hey, Sally, I have a card for you. And they talk to that person, ignore everyone else in the room. They talk to that person, say, remember when we were on that project and we're all like, we're struggling. We couldn't figure out which way to go. And you were the one who kept on helping us make decisions. Well, that's why I'm going to give you the decisive card or whatever card it is. And we go around and sometimes we'll compare it to the cards they selected for themselves. Are the gift cards matching how we see ourselves? And I guarantee you by the time that you're done with this, there will be some pretty emotional moments in the room because people feel acknowledged in a way that they've not been acknowledged before. And it's simple and it's fast, but it's powerful.
So good. Well, as we're landing the plane, I've got two final questions for you. The final question is, where can people go to get connected and stay connected to more Steve Shapiro brilliance? But even before we get there, looking at everything that you have built and are still building and expanding in the personality poker universe, what would your message be to leaders inside of corporate America who want to be more innovative, have more of a culture of collaboration, and just be in a much stronger position to take on the future? What would be the kind of parting thought or macro level idea to leave them with?
I think it comes back to playing with a full deck, which means we have a diverse range of personalities and experiences, but it can't stop there. Here's the problem. And we've done studies on this. If you bring together a team of people where one person is very data-driven and the other person is very heart-centric, they speak different languages and they're going to be battling it out all the time. I remember on a project I was working on, I'm a diamond, so I'm sort of like scattered and free-flowing and creative, and the program manager was a club. He was very anal retentive. We need the deliverables now. And we didn't get along. But I realized I needed him. And so we took the time to appreciate each other, how we're going to drive each other crazy, acknowledging that, the value each of us contribute, the work that we need to do, and how can we best work together. So it's not just about having all the right people, it's having the deep, deep appreciation for what everybody brings to the table. When you have that, then you have a powerful team. You have powerful collaboration, and you can create powerful innovation.
Now people definitely want to get connected and stay connected to more Steve Shapiro brilliance. What links can we share in the show notes? How can people get a hold of more of you and more personality poker?
So if you want to just learn about me, because nobody spells my name correctly, go to theinnovationspeaker.com, and that'll take you to my page. If you want to learn more about personality poker, go to personalitypoker.com. And if you want to play the fun online Las Vegas style slot machine version of personality poker, it's not as accurate as the cards, but it's still pretty fast and pretty close. Go to personalitypokergame.com. Those are probably the three main links I'd suggest.
Very fun. Well, my friend, I appreciate you. Thank you for all the wisdom and knowledge that you shared with us. And of course, we have to have you back because, it's 4 suits. You can't have a game with 4 suits and only 3 appearances on the show. So I'm looking forward to our next chat. And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.